so many advancements to science and technology. There haven't been answers that have brought so much advancement in relationships and thinking processes. It's always been the questions. It's when you can ask the question that you then begin to challenge conventional wisdom and determine, how do I respond to this? How do I go about solving this issue or answering this question? And so on Why Not Wednesday, that's what we do. We put a question out there, and do we answer it? I don't know if we answer it. I don't feel any pressure to answer it. The pressure, it is incumbent upon all of us to ponder it and think about it. Think about it throughout the day, the next few days, and just really start to answer this question for ourselves. And so this morning, as you saw in the title, the question I pose is, why worry? Why do we worry? And so in preparation for the conversation, I looked at a definition. I've never looked for a definition of the word worry. I mean, I think we all know what it feels like. We know what it looks like. There's not a person on this scope who doesn't experience worry and the negative impacts of it, right? Worry that keeps you up at night. Worry that causes you to think things that may or may not be true. Worry that causes you to create whole new realities in your head based on your experiences, based on things you've seen and done and heard, and it causes us to worry. So I looked it up this morning, and it's really interesting. Here's the definition of worry. It is giving way to anxiety, right? Key word there is giving way to anxiety. Second part of that definition was allowing one's mind to ponder on and dwell on difficulty and troubles. So there's two things there that really leaped out at me and actually encouraged me more than I've ever been encouraged about worry. And that is giving away to it and allowing one's mind. I'll tell you, that blew me away, and it encouraged me tremendously this morning, because all we talk about on Morning Joe is choice. The one thing we've been given without inhibition, without restriction, is our choice. That's the one thing that the Creator has granted us, again, without any restrictions, is our choice. And to read and to learn this morning that worry also is a choice blew me away. You just assume, I assumed, I'll speak for myself. I assume that worry is just one of those things that finds you, and that you don't get to choose it. It's just worry. It is what it is. It shows up like the mail, man. It shows up like tax day. It just shows up and you deal with it. And, but to realize that worry is something that you allow to happen. You allow your mind to dwell on the negative. You allow your mind to dwell on all of the possible things that can go wrong. All of your troubles and all your difficulties. You allow yourself to spend time there and to be consumed by it. And so I'm just asking the question this morning, like, why do we do that? Why do we do that? And maybe you didn't know either that it was a choice. Maybe you didn't know that built into the definition is the fact that we allow it, that we give way to anxiety, that we give way to dwelling on negative and trouble, that we allow our minds. Every time I say it, it tickles me. It just blows me away that is something that I allow to happen in my life. And so I've just been thinking about it, and I'd love to get some input from you about how you deal with worry. But I've got just a couple of thoughts I want to share this morning before we move on with our Why Not Wednesday, and moving forward to take control even of the worry that attempts to consume us. Worry doesn't clock in or clock out. Worry doesn't take vacations. Worry is always present. It is always present. And so that we have this opportunity to not dwell on troubles and difficulty and not give way to anxiety, then how do you do that? That is a question that I won't even attempt to give any finality to, but it is a question that I would want you to ponder and ask you to really think about that. I have a few ideas, a few suggestions that I've jotted down and I'll share with you, but I don't know. I don't know that that's how it works. What I do know is that it is very common. It is a very common practice. And I thought about it before, and I remember my father saying this to me years ago, and maybe he read it or heard it somewhere as well. Hey, Mrs. Neil Rhonda, glad you're here. He said this to me some time ago, and I was probably a teenager, and we were talking. I don't remember what the conversation was, But he told me that if I could change the situations that I'm facing by worrying, he said I would get me a little worry chair and I would sit it over there in that corner and I would go worry all my problems away. But I know that worrying about things is not going to make a difference. It's not going to change things. So I am working not to worry. Now that was pretty profound for a teenager and even funny at the time, because I pictured my father, who's a big man. I pictured him in a little worry chair. And that always has tickled me to even think about that. Even today, when when it just dropped in my heart to talk about worry, I thought about my father and him saying that to me. But I just have a couple of thoughts and a few things that might help us. One of the things that I know that is impactful is when you can take control of your day and choose where you put things. So, for example, there's a specific time in the day where I do Morning Joe. It's a specific time. It's 7:30 Monday through Friday Eastern time. And so that is a specific time that I have designed to do this or set aside to do this thing. There's a specific time that I work on developing my mind, whether it's reading books, working on creating new curriculum. There's a specific time that I do that. There's a specific time that I go to bed, right, every night, so that I can make sure I'm rested and prepared for what the next day has to bring to me. There is specific time that I eat so that I have the nourishment and the strength to be able to do what it is I do. So I thought about, what if I created a specific time to worry? What if I created a worry zone that you can only worry, James, from this time to this time? You saving all your worry for this, because here's what I don't think is going to work. For me to tell you not to worry. Just don't worry, right? Just don't do it. I think if it were that easy, you would just not worry. But if it is a choice, if we allow our minds to do that, then can't we retrain our mind to do something else? My answer to that is yes, because I know how powerful this brain is. I know how powerful this thing is that sits on our neck and between our ears. I know how powerful it is. I know it can be retrained to do anything. I know we can create new habits at any point. And so, yes, absolutely. And I say yes, too. So if we can retrain our minds to do that, what if we retrain our minds to just worry at a specific time? Don't put the pressure on us. Don't put the pressure on yourself that I'm just never going to worry again. Because every time you say that, it just, and then you fall off or you find yourself worrying, then that's just further discouragement. It's just difficult when something enters your mind. It's just there. If I say pink elephant to you, all right, now stop thinking about pink elephants. Stop it. Stop thinking about pink elephants, right? Right? You're still seeing pink elephants. It's just not that easy. Once something has entered your thoughts, you can get rid of it, but it's not that easy once a thought has entered your consciousness to get rid of it. But what if you put that in a specific time of the day? I am going to sit down and allow myself to ponder on the trouble, the things that are in my mind, the things that are in my heart. I'm going to do that from 6 to 7 o'clock, and that is it. I'm not worrying anymore. And what if you just practice that every single day? Again, it's not saying don't, because I don't know that I can stop. I don't know that you can just stop smoking. Stop worrying cold turkey. I was thinking cold turkey and thinking about bad habits. But I don't think you can stop worrying cold turkey. Just, all right, that's it. It's Wednesday, 7:40, and I'm not worrying anymore. But what if you were to create a zone? And then throughout the day, you just keep a worry list. Things that come in your mind, you just jot it down. I'm not going to ponder that right now because my worry zone is 6 to 7. I don't know. It sounds crazy. It's a little silly, maybe. I'm just thinking about how do we deal with it. If we recognize and accept. Now, if you don't accept that it's a choice, then most of what I'm saying is ridiculous. But if you really accept, yes, you can. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Leslie. You can choose to redirect your thoughts. And it isn't easy, but if you practice it, if you are intentional about it, anything you're intentional about, you can do. I'm going to say that again. Anything that you put your intention, your conscious mind toward, you can do over time. You can do it. And so not just creating a worry zone, but also a worry list that if worry pops into your head at noon, you know what? I'm going to jot that down and keep it moving. I have too much to do. I have things I have to do, places I have to go, hands I have to shake. connections I need to make. And so I don't have time to worry now, but I'll write it down. And when I sit down in my worry chair at 6 o'clock, I'm going to worry myself away for an hour, and then it's over. Then I'm going to connect with my family. I'm going to connect with things that strengthen me. I'm going to connect with things that help me overcome my worry. I'm going to connect with things that help overshadow the worry that's in my mind, because we all have it. We all have, and most of it, by the way, most of the things we worry about never come to fruition, if you think about that. Most of the things that we worry about never come to fruition. Another thing I'll suggest, that when you are because when you write that down, when you write things down that you worry about, you see it. It's not just in your head, it's on a piece of paper. And now, as you look at that, is that something that you really can do something about? Right? The things that you worry about, is there something that you can do about that? Like, for example, for me sitting down and worrying about the fact that I have to wear glasses. I mean, like, I've been wearing glasses for 40 years. So I'm probably going to be wearing glasses. And why would I worry about that? Why would I worry about something that I don't have control over? It's just an example. That's just an example. Why would you worry about things that you can't control? But sometimes you're not even conscious if you can control it or not. You just worry. You just worry about things. You can't worry about what the tax rate's going to be in Indiana or any other state. You can't worry about who's going to be in office for president. You can do your part, but you can't worry about it because you can't control it. You can do your part and shoot, and you should do your part. Go to the polls and vote and be heard, but you can't do anything about it. So why worry about that? You can't worry about other people's actions and reactions because you can't do anything about it. You can't control what other people do or say or think or feel. And so to worry about that, again, is an exercise in futility. How many things on your worry list are things that don't even concern you? You don't even have the power or the ability to impact it. The final thing I'll say about worry that I've thought about is to ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? If it's something in your control. Now, if it's something out of your control, those things you should just eliminate. But if it is something within your control, ask yourself, what is the worst that can happen? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And the key to that, Ron, is to have a list, right? If you have that list, you can consciously decide, now I'm going to give this as little time as I'm going to give it a little time. Again, I think it's unreal for us to say, just stop worrying. I don't want to put that pressure on anyone. I don't want that pressure on me to just stop worrying. But I can if I allow it. If it's something that I allow and I realize based on the definition that it's a choice, man, I'm going to do what I can do to overcome that, to handle that, to manage that. But again, what is the worst that can happen? If you think about that. And can you handle the worst that can happen? If the worst that can happen is something you can handle, it will take the sting out of the worry. What is the worst that can happen? I don't have the money to pay this bill. What is the worst that can happen? Okay? The worst that can happen is I get my lights turned off, for example. Can you handle that? Will you survive that? Yeah, I'll survive that. Right? Not to say that you settle for it, not to say that you're okay with it, but that you deal with the worry by just deciding, yeah, you know what? The worst that could happen out of this situation, I can deal with it. What's the worst that can happen if I can't make my car payment? Okay, I'll lose my car. They'll repossess my car if I can't pay for it. That's the worst thing that can happen. Can I handle that? Will I stop breathing if I lose my car? Will I lose my mind if I lose my car? Will I lose my peace if I lose my car? Nope. I just won't have transportation, right? That's the worst that can happen if you lose your car. Those are two very surface examples, but I just want you to think about that. What is the worst that can happen? Can I deal with the worst that can happen? Yes. That will take the bite out of worry. Again, on Why Not Wednesday, I don't know that these things answer. I don't know that these are the answer. I don't know that this is how to go about managing, handling, and conquering worry. Here's what I do know for sure that I didn't know before today is that we have a choice. You have a choice. I have a choice. Worry is something that we allow. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is something that we allow. And it is something that we give way to. And if it's something that I allow, then that means I can disallow it. If it's something that I give way to, that means it's something I can shut the door. I don't have all the answers today. And maybe you have some answers you can share with me. I don't have all of those. But what I do know is that once we start pondering the question, then we challenge ourselves to think outside the box, to defy conventional wisdom, and to come up with some answers for ourselves to help conquer this thing. I love you on this Why Not Wednesday. I hope you've enjoyed your coffee as I am still enjoying mine. I